up for passage in the Senate today when they go in session 11 o'clock is the Paycheck Protection Act. And this is a measure that's being pushed by the Republican majorities that would require unions to obtain written permission from workers before spending worker union dues for political purposes. Mike Romano is a Democratic senator from Harrison County. He opposes this, and he joins us on Metro News Talk Line. Mike, good morning. How are you, sir?
Hey, Hoppy, how you doing this
I'm
morning?
well, thank you. Good to talk to you again. Why do you think this is a bad idea?
Well, it's a bad idea on several fronts. One, it's let's take the easy part of it. It's directed at labor unions. Labor unions already do what the law's requiring. Under the federal law, they've always had a checkoff for political contributions as opposed to their regular union dues. So it's kind of redundant. But the real reason that I really kind of got up in arms about it is it's going to require every employer, whether you have union employees or not, to go and get a certification every year for any deduction other than the normal, tax deductions that are always coming out of your paycheck. But if, for example, you have a life insurance policy that you're deducting from your employees' wages for at their request to pay a life insurance premium, you're going to have them sign off because it's very likely that life insurance company is using part of those premiums for political activities. It certainly seems like from the group that always professes they want less regulation, less burden on business, that this is going to be a big burden.
Well, is it really going to, Mike, is it really going to be big? I mean, it's just, we're all fill out paperwork all the time anyways, employees. It's just like, do you want your union dues to be used for political purposes, yes or no? It's a 15-second problem, isn't it?
Well, again, they already do it, Hoppy, but you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of employees and having to do that every single year and account for them and make sure, and on the employer's back. But again, what I'm trying to convey is that it's going to affect every employer in West Virginia, just not employers of union labor. It's going to affect every employer and just add another piece of paperwork to everybody's daily grind. Now, these are the guys that got rid of the wage bond, which protects West Virginia workers' wages because they wanted less regulation, but here they're creating a law that's going to put even more burden on our employers. And let me tell you, as an employer myself, nobody likes to get out and have to do all the things that you have to do in payroll anyways. And somebody, is going to have to determine whether or not the form needs to be filled out, and somebody's going to have to keep track of it and have to do it on a yearly basis. It's just more burden.
Yeah, is that really? I mean, that's okay. That's a legitimate complaint. Is that really your issue, Mike, or is it really because it's anti-union?
Well,
because it is.
No doubt it's, everything we've done in this legislature for the last 3 years is anti-worker. Anti-union because they can concentrate on a particular group of them. But there's no doubt that Paycheck Protection, and one of the other little subtle things they did was they took away the authorization for employers to withhold for union dues. And that's really their goal. I mean, if they can cut off the employer's legal basis to withhold from their employees' paycheck for union dues, the unions will be done.
But only for political purposes. In this bill, it's only for political purposes, right?
No, they took that out for all purposes. They took out a sentence that said authorized deductions are union dues and club dues, which means there's now no direct authorization for the employer by the state of West Virginia to withhold for union dues. It's a real dilemma, and I think it's going to create some real questions. They can still do it as an assignment. It's a much more complicated process, but it's no longer simply a withholding on the employee's paycheck.
Mike Romano is with us, and he is a Democratic senator from Harrison County. Mike, let me switch gears with you a little bit, and because you can handle curveballs, I know that. Is that Governor Jim Justice is been pretty candid about some of his feelings about lawmakers, and he's called them knuckleheads, and I forget what the latest was, knuckleheads and something else. Let me check my what was the thing he did yesterday?
Sometimes we deserve those labels.
Yeah. And blockheads, and I did an online poll today. Governor Justice calling lawmakers blockheads and knuckleheads is, quote, is it funny, disrespectful, accurate, or inappropriate? So far, the percentages are 38% accurate, 27% inappropriate, 20% disrespectful, 15% funny. I mean, he's talking about Republicans mostly, not about you guys, not about the Democrats. What's your take on that? Do you think that's damaging? Do you think it's helpful or damaging, or neither here nor there? What do you think it is?
I think you have to take it in context. Jim Justice, like Donald Trump, they're non-political people. They've never been in political office. I think there is a certain decorum, particularly when you're in face-to-face negotiations. But I think the governor's trying to make a point that, here we are in this dire crisis. We've yet to see the Republican plan, who are going to make the final decision. The Republicans get to make the final decision on the budget. We've yet to see that plan. They're talking about $400 million in cuts. Our state is just in a dire state financially, and if we don't do something, and I mean do something serious and appropriate to fix this problem, our state may be beyond repair. And here you talk about, crazy things. We're talking about getting rid of our income tax system, which everybody would like to do. Nobody likes to pay income taxes, but replace it with a sales tax, which will cost everybody who makes less than, I think, $75,000 an extra $1,000 a year in taxes. And everybody who makes $300,000, it's going to give them a $24,000 or so tax break. Now, we're doing drastic things here at a time when what we need is stability. We need financial stability, and we need to let the outside world know that West Virginia can step up to its problems. We did that for 81 years, and everybody complains about it, and I've heard you say it. But in the last 3 years, we have totally destroyed the financial stability of our state because we couldn't face up to the financial problems we were facing.
Well, we also, Mike, we also had an historic downturn in the coal industry. But be that as it may,
I don't blame him for that.
Okay,
Mike,
does the fiscals, in your opinion, and like define it, is the fiscal stability equal? Does fiscal stability equal raising taxes as the governor proposes $450 million? Does that equal fiscal stability to you?
Well, what the governor's proposed is a permanent fix. Whether you cut the budget permanently or you increase taxes permanently or you do a combination, that will permanently fix the hole. The problem is we've been kicking the can down the road with one-time fixes, taking money out of our savings account, taking money from accounts of every agency that we're saving it for projects. Those are one-time fixes. In the next year, your deficit just doubles up by whatever continued downturn you have. So whether it's tax increases or tax cuts, and nobody wants to raise taxes, but we've got to figure out what the right answer is by working together and not just working in our own corners and then throwing things at each other and saying, here it is, no compromise. I think the governor has said, look, you show me more cuts, I'm going to cut it out of the budget and reduce what I need in taxes. I haven't seen that yet from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and that's what we need to see. We need to be able to see that and digest it and see if it's going to work.
I understand, and I think you're going to, frankly, you know this, I think you're going to see it in a day or two. So I think you're going to see that.
Next week. They said first of the week, and I'm looking forward to it because it's just going to be tough to see how we're going to get $400 million out of the budget.
Mike Romano, Democrat, Harrison County. Mike, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Hoppy.
Thank you. Take care.